everybody, welcome back to Challenge Call of Max and Avery. I'm your host, Max.
And I am Avery. How are you guys?
All right, so once again, we are coming at you with our weekly episode. Newsflash, after this episode, we're going to after next episode, after our Super Bowl episode, we're going to be on a little bit of a break. Won't be too long, couple weeks maybe, but we're going to take some time post-football season, just kind of relax, spend time with the family and stuff like that. But Avery, how are you doing right now?
Yeah, man, I'm good. We're battling the cold season here in the household over here, the Avery household. It's been nonstop. One of us gets sick, they get better, then the other person gets sick, then we get better. It's just like nonstop for the last 2 months, and I'm ready to be done. But how are you?
I'm not too bad. I also had a cold. Kind of right now, starting to get over it a little bit, so that's good. Girlfriend had one before I did not too long ago, so a little bit of the same story. You know, sickness kind of just flowing around and you kind of just working through it.
Yeah, it sucks. And with you mentioning that we're going to take a 2-week break, man, it could be 2 weeks, it could be 3, it may be even only 1. You know, we don't know yet necessarily. We'll iron that out next week and we'll tell you for sure. But I think as podcasters and as this isn't our full-time job, it's important to take those breaks. And I know there's a lot of people that do listen to this on a weekly basis, and we're sorry we're not going to bring you content. But, hey, we're going to try the next 2 weeks to bring you the best content we can.
That's right. So we'll get rolling in with today's then. A little bit of sports news update for you. Avery, you go ahead and start it off.
Well, we got some big news out of the NHL today. The NHL commissioner came out and said that they are looking to add 2 teams into the NHL. And right now, one of the finalists for a team is Omaha, where I currently live, and I have no affiliation to a NHL team right now. Kind of a hybrid Blackhawks fan, Blues fan. I follow the Avalanche a little bit because of you. But if they brought a team into Omaha, I think that will be the nail in the coffin that says, okay, like I'm getting into the NHL, because like having a professional sports team, Omaha is a big city, especially for the Midwest. Like we are one of the biggest cities in the Midwest, and we don't have a professional sports teams. Like for football, a lot of people support the Kansas City Chiefs. Baseball, the Royals, a lot of Cubs fans over here, but like we don't have a professional sports team. And I think Omaha would be kind of that perfect spot, especially for a sport that doesn't get the recognition.
Definitely. No, that would be super cool if you guys had an NHL team. Obviously, I'd still be rooting for my Avs and everything. But, hey, if they ever came and played in Omaha and I happen to be free for a week or something, we might have to go catch a Avs versus whatever they would call the team, whatever the mascot would be. Dude, have they said anything mascot-wise on what they think it would potentially be?
I haven't read anything with that. What the mascot would be. But I'm assuming, I know we have a lot of different like things that relate to Omaha. Like I know Omaha is like one of the biggest beef producers in the Midwest in the United States. And I know we had a semi-pro team called the Omaha Beef for football. So it could be like the Omaha Beef, the Omaha Bison, something along those. Like UNO is called the Mavericks, which is a bowl. So maybe the Omaha Mavericks, or or even Cornhuskers, something relating to like the state of Nebraska or like Omaha in general. So who knows? But I just think it's cool because like, as you mentioned, like Denver Avs, like Denver is only 7 hours away. You would think that would probably be a rival of the Omaha team that was here because like they're close. They're probably going to be in the same conference.
Yeah, they probably are within like that kind of regional conference area. And so I don't know how the hockey conferences break down per se, like where all the conferences are and blah, blah, blah and whatnot. But like, I don't know. Are we looking to – is it like basketball where there's like an East and West? And are they looking to expand one team into each kind of deal?
So there's a North and a South. So a lot of the Canadian teams are in the North. Minnesota's in the north, and then there's the south, which is the Avalanche and like the Sun Devils and Arizona, or the Coyotes in Arizona, the Aces and Las Vegas. So it's a north versus south. So like Omaha is like right in that middle spot where like they could go either direction. Like it could be a northern team, but it could also be a southern team. But the reason like Omaha is getting this attention is, one, they have the UNO Mavericks, which is a top 25 hockey team in the nation. And they made it to the Frozen Four a couple years back. And two, we have the Lancers, which is in the United States Hockey League, their semi-league. And the Lancers are one of the best teams in the United States Hockey League. So I think that kind of overall just gives a different perspective of why Omaha is a potential city. I know me and my wife were talking about this at dinner, and we were talking about it, and we're like, if you really truly look at Omaha and their demographics, we're not a football team, or we're not a football city. We're not a basketball city. We are a hockey city, and we're a baseball city because of the College World Series. So the MLB or the NHL, that's like the perfect demographic to come into Omaha. So it's really cool that like the city's buzzing right now about it.
Yeah, that's a super cool addition to have. And what's the timeline on these? When are they looking, you think, to officially have things like up and running? When are the Omaha Straw Hats going to play their first season?
2025. So like soon, 2025. They probably would play at Baxter Arena here in Omaha. That's where the Lancers play, and that's where UNO plays for their hockey games. They have like an actual state-of-the-art hockey arena there, and it's a really cool arena. I've been there a couple of times. So I could see it being at Baxter Arena. That's actually where we do graduation and everything too. So I could see it being there for like that first year until they get their stadium built. But there was also an undisclosed like company that bought big land down by the pedestrian bridge and the river. So I think it's already in the works of like funding and everything. Hey, you know, this is probably where it's going to be.
I'm sure if they are like saying, oh yeah, in 2 years, we're going to have this team here, I'm sure they would already be, they've definitely at least done their logistical analysis / prep work of where would we put it, how much would it cost, blah, blah, blah. They've definitely been looking into all of that stuff if they're going to say like, yeah, by 2025, we're going to have some shit added.
Right. Yeah. And so like, hey, big news might be coming to Omaha. We need a sports team, and that would be really cool. I think I would try to get season tickets, even if they were the shittiest tickets in like the whole arena. I would try to get season tickets because why not? Like,
yeah, that'd be the one thing you'd actually have any reason to go season ticket for, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, where you're not close enough to anything else to be worthwhile for a season ticket, which kind of on this topic or whatever, similar like expansion-ish, that relevancy, whatever. The season ticket thing's what reminded me. All the coaches were talking today. There's actually an Arena League football team in Cedar Rapids, the Riverhawks. They're starting back up. And so we were looking up the prices of the tickets and stuff because we're like, oh, yeah, like we'll totally go to some Cedar Rapids Riverhawk Arena football games and whatnot. And season tickets are like $150.
That's not bad at all.
It's not bad at all.
That's not bad at all. I mean, for a professional sports team, you got to think it's probably going to be in the thousands at least for season tickets. But yeah, no, for a semi team, that's actually really cheap. Really cheap.
One ticket to sit like right on the like wall, you know, like it's an arena football, like so right by the wall down in front, first row, it's $35.
Yeah, that's cheap. That's so cheap. Damn, I wish we still had Arena League. We do have one professional sports team in Omaha. It's called the Omaha Supernovas, and it's the professional volleyball league. But at the same time, it's like it's volleyball, and there's not that much publicity, but it's still volleyball. But yeah, I mean, it's still a professional sports team, but I've not been to a single game yet. They just started up this year. But a hockey, I could get behind that for sure. But yeah, definitely. The Riverhawks, that sounds fun, dude. I guess I do. Yeah, I guess I do. I mean, if I really wanted to, I could probably buy season tickets to the Cornhuskers. It's only 45 minutes. But I don't want to.
For that's different because you would actually have to be a fan of who you're buying a season ticket for. And you being an Iowa fan, it's kind of like, all right, it's Cornhuskers, season tickets are cool, but like, I'd rather be at home watching the Iowa game right now. So
For sure, yeah. So I'm like, Cornhuskers out, Supernovas, they're out. But hey, I could get behind the NHL Omaha Beef or whatever they get called. Yeah, that would be pretty neat.
I'm sure
yeah.
they'll think it's something better than beef, but
For sure, yeah. For sure. But it would be a cool thing to see. That's for sure.
definitely. Next bit of news we have, lots of potential trade talks going on with LeBron. Are these rumors? Are these like confirmed things? Have there been publicized like discussions going on, or what's the deal with all this trade talk with LeBron?
So the Lakers went to LeBron and waived his no trade clause. In the NBA, they have a no trade clause. I think NFL they do too. That you can sign your contract and you can have in it a no trade clause that you cannot be traded. Well, the Lakers went to LeBron and said, "Hey, we need you to waive this." And he's not having the best year that he's had. I mean, he's 39 years old. Like LeBron is old, man. Like he's done. But it's starting to ramp up. And one team that has stuck out, which is kind of ironic, is the Miami Heat, because he played in Miami for 4 years. That's where the big three was. Like he was drafted by the Cavaliers. He went to Miami. He went back to Cleveland, and then he went out to LA. He could end up going back to Miami. Another team that's a potential rumor is the Dallas Mavericks, where he would pair up with Doncic, and he would pair up with Kyrie Irving. So it's just all rumor and speculation. I think the trade deadline's coming up. I think it's in the late February. So if they're going to make a move, they got to make a move like within the next 2 weeks. I think it is. Let me pull up the trade deadline. Yeah. The trade deadline is February 22nd. So
20 or not even 20 days from now. Yeah, like 2 weeks.
2 weeks. They got that potential of he could be gone. So I don't know, man. Like LeBron might not be a Laker. He's never been traded. Like, I mean, he's played 20 years in the NBA, never been traded, never even been in the talks of being traded. So this just kind of shows, hey, LeBron, you're not the same LeBron anymore. Like you could go.
So does he, when you say he's never been traded, he's played on different teams before. Are you just meaning like he moved himself? Or
yeah, he signed a contract with those teams.
Gotcha.
So he's played for 3 different teams. He was drafted by the Cavaliers. He signed a contract with Chris Bosh to go down to Miami. And then he went back to the Cleveland Cavaliers with Kyrie Irving. And then he left the Cavaliers and then went out to LA with Anthony Davis. And he's won a championship everywhere he's went. I mean, not the first time with the Cavaliers, but he did win a championship, 2 championships that second time. So there's potential, man. I don't know. We'll see. But it would be kind of cool to see a superstar like LeBron get traded.
Yeah, that would be interesting, especially if he went to Miami, just because I feel like I can't remember last year very well, but I feel like the year before they almost went all the way, didn't they? Miami was like the Heat was were they in the championship game or 1 game out?
I think they were 1 game out. Let me look. Yeah, I think they were 1 game out, but him pairing up with Jimmy Butler down there would be a pretty good duo.
Yeah, like those two alone. I mean, that's what you got to do in the NBA. If you can just get 2 superstar talents, like you're set. It's not like football where you need like pieces everywhere. You got 2 really solid like superstar guys, and they can carry the team very easily.
For sure. Last year, they did. They lost in the finals.
Last year.
Yeah, they lost in the finals against the Denver Nuggets. That's right. Yep. Nuggets won last year, so that'll be interesting. Like, if he joins them, like, they got a good shot. I mean, they're 28-24 right now. So they don't have the best record, but you add LeBron, you got potential.
Definitely. If you add LeBron, I mean, that's never going to hurt. It could hurt. I don't know. Not in this case, I don't think, but he is getting up there. He's getting a little older, so we'll see how that continues to run for him. But yeah, they're currently standing 7th, so pretty much right mid-pack of the Eastern Conference right now. Still potentially, they're still within playing a play-in game at the moment. I know we got a ways until that's all coming up and said and done and whatnot. That's just where they're sitting now. Nuggets are only number 3. Oh, they're below the Timberwolves and the Thunder. Interesting.
The Thunder,
it's tied record though. It's all tied record. So that's technically in my head, they're all one. They're all first place.
For sure. But yeah, so a little basketball news to start today. Let's transition a little bit into college basketball, specifically women's college basketball. Max, take it away.
Been a little while since we've given a basketball update, mostly because our Iowa men's team has been a little lackluster and we just haven't been paying that much attention to basketball. But despite the men's team kind of being downhill right now or down on their luck, the women's team, once again, as expected, is killing it. They're 10-1 in conference, 21-2 overall, only losses being to Kansas State and Ohio State. So, Iowa women's basketball doing what Iowa women's basketball does. Caitlin Clark actually has some huge – they're playing right now, too. I forgot to mention that. They are actually playing Penn State right now as we speak. The current score is 30-27 Iowa halfway through the second quarter. And Caitlin Clark is 66 points away from having the all-time scoring record. And tonight, she has already scored, let me figure this out here, Iowa, 8 points. She's at 8 points tonight. So she is 52 points away now.
She is actually 66. She's 58 points away.
Yes, because she has 8 points.
Yeah, so she's 58 points right now away. Yeah.
So because she scored 8 points tonight.
Right, yeah. 58 points away, man. Like, Caitlin Clark, she is a baller. She's revolutionized Iowa basketball. And to pass Kelsey Plum for the all-time scoring record is something, like, incredible because Kelsey Plum is probably the best WNBA player right now. And just to see what Caitlin Clark's done in college, and there's a lot of controversy over Caitlin Clark right now. A couple weeks back, she flopped, but who doesn't flop in college basketball or in the NBA? Also, like, there's a lot of people, like, someone came out, female analyst for ESPN. She played in the WNBA, and I don't remember her exact words, but she said, well, Caitlin Clark truly didn't do it within a 4-year span. And I'm like, what do you mean? She's only played 4 years in the at Iowa. And so, like, I was shook when she said that because I'm like,
not only that, but like Caitlin Clark has played less games than Kelsey Plum.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing of that was like, oh, well, it's easy when you get more games, kind of like the NFL adding the 17th game to the regular season and stuff. Like, oh, all the records need an asterisk, blah, blah, blah. There's no asterisk here, though. Caitlin Clark has played like 8 less games or something already, and she's already about to break it. Now, by the time the season is over, I believe she will have played more games, but that's irrelevant as she's about to break the record in the next game or two.
That, which is nuts. Not only is she like about to break the record of Kelsey Plum, but she's about to break the all-time scoring record with the college men's basketball and college women's basketball. Pistol Pete Maravich, that score, his record held for 54 years. It's 3,667 points. Caitlin Clark's only about 150 points away. There's a potential that she could be the all-time leading scorer in both men's and women's basketball. So the all-time scorer in general, which would be insane, which would be an insane milestone. And you got to think Caitlin Clark's going to be the number 1 pick in the WNBA.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. She absolutely is going to be the number 1 pick. Also, Caitlin Clark has played 16 less games than Kelsey Plum. That's how many, like, I was off when I said like 6 less games. She has played 16 less games, and in 2 more games, she's going to break the record. So
which is nuts.
I don't care if the end of the season she's going to end up having more games total, because it's not like she broke the record in her very last game in an unfair way. She's about to break that shit right now, halfway through this season.
Yeah, it's not going to be tonight, but it could be the next game, to be honest. Like, if she goes off for 35 tonight or 40 tonight, like, she could break it next game.
She could also break it tonight if she really wanted to push for it. I mean, it's not insane to think that she could. But in her last, 3 games or so, let me see if I can just find this real quick. Her last 3 games, I think she has she's around that 30, 40 point average. Points, let me make sure I'm going in the correct order. Yep, 38, 35, 38, 45. The last 4 games.
Which is nuts. And it's not like Caitlin Clark is being a ball hog either. She is second in the Big Ten right now in assists, averaging 7.9 assists per game.
Yeah, the same assists going down the list, matching up with those scores: 12, 10, 6, 7.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, 7.9 per game averaging out throughout this year. I mean, it's not like she's being a ball hog. It's just how dynamic of a player she is. She's a true number 1.
Well, and because I believe you have to look at her percentages too, because it's not anything, because that was another point that was made, I believe, of just of course she's going to score the most points when she just sits there and chucks up the ball and whatnot. But actually, when you look at her shooting percentage, I think she has one of the top 5 shooting percentages as well.
Yeah, so I mean, hey, mad respect to Caitlin Clark. She's gonna break it, and to be honest, she deserves everything. She's brought Iowa into the spotlight for basketball in general.
Yeah, no, she has put Iowa basketball on the map, just with how insanely good she is and has been. And they're going to be somewhere deep in the playoffs this year, if not the championship game itself.
For sure. About the men, unfortunately, we suck, as you mentioned. The men are 13-10 this year. And I don't even think we're not going to make it to the tournament unless we have a magical Big Ten championship run. But I don't see us making it to the tournament. Shoot, man, I don't even know if we make it to the NIT this year.
Yeah, the men's team is not doing great. I've watched a couple of games, but it is what it is, they graduated a lot, and all they really have back right now is Perkins and Patrick McCaffrey, which they're good guys. They're good, solid players. They're still being successful. And they've got some successful younger guys that came in and are kind of helping out too. But at the end of the day, those are younger guys. Right. Iowa's a very, very developmental school that builds up their players. And so it's, they need the time to build those players up.
For sure. Another Big Ten school that has kind of been rolling is Nebraska. Nebraska is a weird story to talk about with college basketball, especially on the men's side. Nebraska is the only powerhouse or Power 5 school to never win a March Madness game, which is insane.
A single game in March Madness?
A single game in March Madness. They've never won a single game in March Madness. They've been there 7 times and have lost every single time they've went.
Now, I don't know, you might not have any clue of this or whatnot, but you're saying the only team from the major 6 conferences that haven't won a game. Are we only considering teams that have been there, or is there a team potentially in the top 6 conferences that hasn't been to the March Madness at all, and therefore also would not have won a March Madness?
I'm not sure necessarily on that stat. I can try to look it up. Might be a little bit of a deep dig on that. But I just know as teams that have been there, they're the only teams that never win a March Madness game. So that's what I know. But that is still insane.
For sure. It's almost one of those things where it's what's worse? Saying you've never won a March Madness game because you've never been there, or being there a million times and saying you've never won a game. Your chances when you've actually been there go up so far because you have a chance to compete for it. And 0-0 at the end of the day is just it's not real. It's 0-0. You can't divide by 0, whatever. But 0-20 0-15, 0 and whatever it is. Like, that's an embarrassing record right there.
Yeah. And I'm trying to find it, but I can't find anything.
That
I
one
think
would be a
Army,
tough one to look up.
I think Army, I'm seeing a lot of Army popping up, but I know they're not a non-power 5. So, I mean, I can't even consider that in the same thing. But the reason we're talking about Nebraska is they did beat the number 6 team in the country in Wisconsin a couple games back. Of course, after that, a major win and major victory, they did drop 2 to Illinois and Northwestern. Northwestern and Illinois. Illinois is the 14th in the country. Of course, that's going to be a hard one. They did play in Champaign. Northwestern, they were a tough team to beat last year in March Madness, if you remember. So, give and take on those two, but I think we see Nebraska as a good team in the March Madness this year.
Definitely. And I just looked up a list of this too, tracking the teams that have never made the NCAA March Madness tournament, but I'm not seeing any Power 5 conference. These are all general 5 schools, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, not a single Power 5 conference in here, all below.
So Power 5s, they're the only school that never win a March Madness game.
You want to know one school that is on here, though?
Who?
UNO.
Yeah, well, we suck. Actually, we don't suck. Thank you very much. I'm glad you brought up UNO, baby. We're going to do a quick detour on here. UNO's standings for college basketball this year aren't that bad. We're 12-12. And we're in second place, right behind North Dakota State right now in the Summit League. So, there's a really good shot that we end that streak this year. We would definitely be a 16th seed going into March Madness. But if my Iowa Hawkeyes don't go, we're cheering for the Mavericks.
I'll be rooting for the UNC Bears, that is the University of Northern Colorado Bears, to be participating in that tournament maybe. I don't know what their record is right now. I'd have to check it out, but
they're in the Summit League too, aren't they?
No, they're in the Big Sky. You're thinking of University of Denver.
Okay.
But I don't think they're too horrible. I shouldn't say they're not too horrible. I looked up, and I think it was when I was looking up the women's team things actually. But they had one girl that was very high up for 3-point percentage. I saw. This is the 2024 schedule. I don't know why I'm looking at this. This is also not basketball. This is football. Force of habit. My bad. I'm so used to going to football schedules. They're 13-9. They are 13-9 right now. So
they have a better record than UNO. But the only thing is the Summit League sucks. And that is why UNO at 12-12 is in second place. And we're only a half game behind. So I'm just saying. Things could be changing. Well, and that is impressive, though, because if you look at UNO 3 years ago, I think they won 5 games. They fired their head coach. Last year was the first year under that guy. And the second year, we're 12-12 and a half game back. So there are progress. You do see progress coming from the UNO basketball program. So, you got to take what you get with it.
Definitely. That is something important to see. But let's see. We're about halfway through this episode, so we'll go ahead and move on with all this random hootenanny we've been talking, and we will get into some football. And by getting into some football, I just mean football-adjacent things, as we will be talking about the Pro Bowl. Did you watch any of the Pro Bowl this year?
Not a single little bit. Not even a little bit. I probably couldn't even talk to you about this Pro Bowl right now. Did you watch it?
I watched a little tiny bit of the flag football game, and I watched the competition where they pull the wall. They have to pull the weights off of the wall and then grab the first down markers and pull it across the line. I watched that competition and a little bit of the flag football game. But yeah, outside of that, I didn't really watch much of anything. The NFC won again. Eli Manning 2-0 against Bro. So good for him. But yeah, I don't know. I really, really enjoyed it last year, and I actually do like what they do with it now. It was just a timing thing. I forgot it was on, and Mallory and I were doing other stuff, so I was just it's okay.
Oh yeah, I did not watch a single little bit of this Pro Bowl. I did watch like a couple of things on TikTok, kind of like the long snapping competition, and then I also kind of saw like Jalen Hurts kind of suck a lot at like the passing and precision throwing. But other than that, like the Pro Bowl's stupid to me. Ever since they moved it to flag football and like skills competition, it's not fun for me.
I
Like,
know we have mixed feelings on that because I think it's way better than it was when it was an actual football game that nobody fucking tried in.
yeah, but I'm also thinking back before you started kind of watching football, like in the 2010s, 2000s, and early 2010s. Like, people actually tried in the Pro Bowl because it used to be kind of like home field advantage in the Super Bowl, which doesn't matter because they're playing on a neutral site anyways. It just matters who calls out the coin toss first, heads or tails. So like at that aspect, it doesn't really matter. But at the same time, it's nice to be able to say heads or tails first, right? Um, but I liked it when it was actually the football game, and also like it's all fan based,
Yeah.
like so, and that's where it gets tricky too. And people opt out of the Pro Bowl all the time, so you never get the true All Stars. Gardner Minshew was a Pro Bowl quarterback this year. Tyler Huntley was a Pro Bowl quarterback last year. So you think about these players that actually make it; it's not the best of the best. So it
Sure.
does, to me, it doesn't matter.
To that, although, like, that's all controlled by the players. Like, yeah, you miss when it was an actual game and stuff. That probably would be fun, and I'd probably enjoy that a lot more too. But guess what? You can't force the players to play like it's an actual game. And the way it was being played, it sucked. So what did they do? Make it different to improve it. Make it more entertaining. Make it something that was actually somewhat worthwhile instead of just continuing to play a meaningless game that nobody tried in and people were losing all interest in.
Yeah, and that's fair. But at the end of the day, too, it's still the Pro Bowl, and it's kind of a filler. If anything, you know what I think would be cool? You have the two worst teams play at the end of the year for the number one pick. And I know it kind of defeats the purpose of the number one pick because it should be the worst team that gets the number one pick. But I think it should be like the winner get the number one pick. But then it kind of gets into that stipulation. What if that worst team traded that number one pick to a different team? Should that team play in that game? Like, it comes into that factor. So there are some stipulations with it. But wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah, it would be too weird to say like it would have to be a tiebreaker type scenario. Like, would there be a tie for last place? Then that would be an awesome tiebreaker to have.
Right.
Like, all right, these two teams are gonna fucking play each other for the tiebreaker. But then also the other big issue with that is why would any team in their right mind playing a tiebreaker game to see who gets the number one pick? Because like if they win, would they get it? Or if they lose, would they get it?
I would say you would have to do if they won. Because
But
like
then that would
the
also
other team, well, and that's what I said. Like it would
Yeah.
defeat the purpose. But at the same time, like it'd still be cool because it'd be more football on, like, and it wouldn't be just like a skill competition. I don't know. I just have really negative aspects of like the Pro Bowl altogether. If anything, I think what would actually be cool is if fans couldn't vote on it. Like, I know it's for the fans to see their favorite players in, but at the same time, if fans couldn't vote on it and it was like voted on by players in the league, that they actually face these guys and they like the NFL top 100. They do that every single year of like, okay, like who's the top 100 players in the NFL right now? They put it on NFL Network. If they did that or something like that, oh, you want to see the best three quarterbacks that you played against in the league, have every single player on those teams write those top three guys, and you can't vote for your own guy. Like, I think that would be cool.
That would be interesting, but yeah, the Pro Bowl is for the fans and everything and whatnot. But at the same time, I would argue that there's a very, very big aspect that that the players enjoy it much, much more now. It's a lot more fun to them and a lot more of a morale type thing of like, hey, I'm in the Pro Bowl. I get to compete in all these. I get to play all these fun games, whatever. My fans love it. Like there's an aspect where it's about them too. Like this is kind of their recognition, their thing, their time to enjoy life and not always worrying about winning a football game.
For sure, and that's more respectful too. But at the end of the day, I just hate the Pro Bowl. I think it's stupid. But I mean, to each their own, I guess. People like you, they like it. Did you see, and this is a little off topic from the Pro Bowl, but did you see that we have 3 Chicago Bears officially going to the Hall of Fame?
No, I did not. Who's going?
So we got Devin Hester, one of the best kick returners ever in the NFL history. He holds the record for all kick returns and punt returns ever for touchdowns. First ever specialized kick returner to make it into the Hall of Fame. So that's really cool to see. And then you got Julius Peppers, longtime defensive end, making it to the league that we've seen multiple times. He played in 2000s and 2010s. And then we even got good old Steve McMichael. Steve McMichael, I don't know if you've been seeing this. He's battling ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease right now, and he's close to death. But he was on the Super Bowl 1985 team. He was a defensive end for us during that time. He won a Super Bowl with the Bears, and so they're inducting him into the Hall of Fame this year also. So 3 Bears this year are going into the Hall of Fame, which is really cool to see.
Go Bears.
Bear down, baby. But, yeah, there's one more thing I want to talk about with the Bears, too. DJ Moore came out today. Did you see his news, what he said today about Justin Fields? He
would like to keep Justin, but at the same time, he also admitted that, if they traded and they got Caleb Williams, he'd be okay, too. He's just there to play football.
Yeah, and that's fine. But I really loved the unwavering DJ Moore earlier in the offseason when he was saying, Justin Fields is my guy. I want him to be there. Like I've said it before, Justin Fields is going to be the starting quarterback of the Bears. It's starting to flip on the script. And I don't know if it's smoke screens or what is happening, but I feel like the closer we get to the draft, the more we're starting to lean towards good old Caleb Williams.
I think there's an aspect of it where you have to realize this is their job. Of course he's going to say he likes Justin. That's his quarterback he's playing with right now. And you can't blame the guy for saying, yeah, I'd be cool if it was Caleb Williams too. Because at the end of the day, his job is to catch footballs, win games, score touchdowns, etc. Regardless of who is throwing him the ball, as long as it's someone competent and capable of able to get it to him, he can't be too focused on it being his best friend or something, oh, fuck this guy, I'm not gonna play well anymore or try my best or anything because I don't no, he's there to play football. They're all friends with each other, even guys on opposite teams all the time. And even outside of that aspect, what he says publicly in the media, half the shit I would argue that football players say publicly in the media, they don't truly mean half of it in their heart. They say it because they're expected to say those things. They are winning fan bases. They're being told by their organizations what they are supposed to be, not word for word saying or anything, but hey, support Justin, things like that. So I would argue that there's a lot of that other factors going on and everything that just this is their job. I don't take anything players say too seriously.
And I agree. There was another player that said something at the Super Bowl Media Insider that's not even with the Bears at all. Good old George Kittle came out and said that the Bears kind of would be fools. They need to stick with Justin Fields and just draft a guy and build the team around him. I love George Kittle, man. He grew up a Bears fan. He talks about the Bears almost not as more as the 49ers, but he does talk about the Bears quite often. And I love it because I vision him in a Bears uniform later in his career because I could see it.
He would easily go there. He would easily go and play in Chicago. I mean, he'd be closer to home.
Yep.
He would be playing for his favorite NFL team. Come on. Climb on board. Let's go. Get your Super Bowl ring this year. Get your ring this year. Be satisfied in that way. And then, all right, what are you chasing next? How about a ring with your favorite NFL franchise?
For sure, which would be really cool to see. It would be probably one of my all-time moments. I'd buy that jersey so quick.
Oh, easily.
George Kittle jersey easily. But him paired up with Cole Kmet would be a beautiful thing to see. Also, we talked about Caleb Williams and we talked about Justin Fields, and like the Bears are a good shot at drafting Caleb Williams. But also like the Washington Commanders, with them hiring Cliff Kingsbury as their offensive coordinator, there's a lot of rumors that Washington's going to give us the king ransom to go up and get Caleb Williams. And then we only go to number 2. We don't move down to 3. We don't move down to 10. We don't move down to 12. We go to number 2. I saw this thing and it was very interesting. It was that they would send Sam Howell, their first-round pick, Terry McLaurin, and a third-round pick next year over to Chicago for the number 1 overall pick. Which
I don't know if I want Sam Howell all that bad. Terry McLaurin would be a great get. I'll gladly take their number 1 pick.
Yeah.
And like whatever other picks, sure. But McLaurin is about the like Sam Howell doesn't move the needle for me any. Like sure, he might be a good backup for either Justin or if we drafted a quarterback with the number 2 overall pick, whoever we drafted. But like Sam Howell doesn't add much value to that offer in my head.
And the way I looked at it is there's 2 things with it. If we did do that trade, like one, we're not going to draft Drake May. The only quarterback that could probably replace Justin Fields in this draft class is Caleb Williams. So I think with that number 2 pick, we either trade back down with another team or we draft Marvin Harrison Jr. at number 2. And then you got Terry McLaurin, you got DJ Moore, and you got Marvin Harrison, which is nuts. Like our receiving core would be stacked. You got 3 All-Stars. Then, if you really wanted to put a fire under Justin Fields, Sam Howell was a capable quarterback last year as a starter. Have an open quarterback competition between Sam Howell and Justin Fields going into the offseason. And be like, this is your job to lose, but this is going to be an open quarterback battle. And I think that wouldn't be bad because
Isn't that what we did with Trubisky? Isn't that what we did with Trubisky and Nick Foles, and it didn't go so hot?
It didn't go that hot, but at the same time, Justin Fields is nothing like Mitch Trubisky. He has a higher ceiling altogether. And Sam Howell's also a younger guy, and Nick Foles was at the tail end of his career. So, like, I think, there is different aspects to this. I think it would be an interesting thing if we did trade down with Washington, not San Francisco. But it does make sense for Washington. They got a new head coach. They even have a new owner. They have a new general manager. Why not start fresh with the hottest quarterback everybody says since Andrew Luck, Peyton Manning? It's not far-fetched.
Yeah, I could believe it. Also, there's a degree of me where I'm just kind of done talking about all the like Bears trade possibility options, what they should do, what I think of blah, 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 and whatnot. Because like I've said my piece. I've said what I want. Like keep Justin or trade this or that. I'd like Marvin Harrison with the 3rd if we could trade down, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But like it's all said. It's out there. At this point, I'm waiting. I'm waiting to see what actually happens.
That's fair. So they had their NFL ceremonies today for like Coach of the Year and everything. And Kevin Stefanski with the Browns won Coach of the Year this year. It just got released. And Christian McCaffrey won Offensive Player of the Year. And Myles Garrett won Defensive Player of the Year. Those are the only 3 that have been announced so far. The MVP, it's going right now. And so the MVP hasn't been announced. Probably by the time like we've already recorded this podcast, we'll know who the MVP was this year. But what do you think of Kevin Stefanski and the Browns? I mean, they had a good year, but you would have thought it would have went to Dan Campbell.
You would have had to think it would go to Dan Campbell. And is this just a regular season thing? Because the only questionable thing you could have argued with Campbell was the loss that they did have in the playoffs, which some may argue like it be controversial because I've heard some people take the take of, was it kind of ridiculous to go on 4th down that many times? Yes, probably not the greatest call. But at the same time, that's what Dan Campbell does. Mm-hmm. And so there's something to be said for sticking with your play style and sticking with what you've done all year and just keep hammering it with that kind of faith. Even though some may argue the other side of, well, yeah, but now you're in the playoffs and you've got to adapt a little bit to the level. But that is a little surprising. Like, Browns had the number one defense in the NFL and everything. That's great. But offensively, they weren't that crazy or anything. Like, where did they even land in the playoffs? Did they make it? Did they get past the wild card round? I don't.
They got smoked by the Texans in the wild card.
Yeah, that's right.
They got smoked by the Texans. But at the same time, you got to think of like the quarterback wheel, like carousel wheel that they had going on this year. Like, they literally started Deshaun Watson, P.J. Walker. They started Dorian Thompson-Robinson, a rookie, and they started Joe Flacco. And they still went to the playoffs, and they still went 12-5. So, yeah, I mean, I do see where Kevin Stefanski can win that Coach of the Year, because that's a lot of turmoil for a team.
That is true, because that is the one thing I don't want to say have to take away from Dan Campbell per se, but like, it's very easy to get further with good players, regardless of who's coaching, than it is to have like okay players or even like not great players, and your coaching just like overshadowing that obstacle and being like, I'm a good enough coach that I might not have the guys, but God damn it, I'm gonna get the job done.
Yeah, and I think that's why Kevin Stefanski won the award, because he did it with less. And Myles Garrett went in Defensive Player of the Year. He had a phenomenal year. Let's be honest. Myles Garrett's one of the best edge rushers in the league right now. Same with Christian McCaffrey, winning Offensive Player of the Year. We all probably figured that was going to happen. Yeah. CMC is a beast. Like,
he's crazy.
He's nuts. He's one of the best players in the league right now. But we did talk about the Browns and the Texans, and they just announced the Offensive Rookie of the Year, and it went to our boy C.J. Stroud. Of course it did.
That was the obvious choice. Yeah. That was always the obvious choice. There was nobody else that you could have said, like, hey, this dude literally carried that team on his back all the way to the playoff, all the way to a playoff win.
Yeah.
Like that. Like,
I love that. I mean, hey, he deserves every ounce of that Offensive Rookie of the Year. Another player, though, on the Texans won another award, Defensive Rookie of the Year, Will Anderson Jr. He won Defensive Rookie of the Year. Also, another cornerstone. They drafted C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson in the draft back-to-back last year. C.J. Stroud went number 2. Will Anderson went number 3. Texans traded up to get Will Anderson, and he had a heck of a rookie year. And we kind of figured we could have probably picked this in the beginning of the year. Will Anderson winning Defensive Rookie of the Year. But we probably wouldn't have picked C.J. Stroud right in the beginning of the year. So, like, Will Anderson.
It's hard to pick a quarterback like that. Like, I don't know if you could ever pick a quarterback as Rookie of the Year, just because how often do we see a rookie quarterback come in and be successful? Not even just like, hey, I have a winning record, but how often do we see a rookie quarterback come in and fucking win playoff games?
Right. And he did it. I mean, Brock Purdy did it last year, let's be honest. The rookie quarterback, he did it
But also you can look, the same argument you've made before in Brock Purdy's case of like, look at that team just in general. Kittle, McCaffrey, who we just talked about winning offensive MVP. You got Ayuk, you got Deebo Samuel, you're loaded with guys. Whereas with the Texans, I don't know. I still don't know if I can name like a Texans receiver.
What's his name?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What's his name? You're right. That's crazy. I forgot about him.
It's a rookie Texans wide receiver. Tank Dell. He balled out this year. So I mean, Tank Dell, he played pretty well. I mean, he looked.
But still a rookie.
But he's still a rookie, right?
Still a rookie. So you're talking about rookie with a rookie, like that can happen. But like, you're talking in Purdy's stance. Not that I'm taking anything away from Purdy, because I think Purdy is pretty damn relevant.
Look at that. Purdy.
But no, he's also playing with very, very experienced guys who are wildly talented, like some of the top guys in their positions. So, like,
for sure,
there is a little bit of a skew there. Also, like, okay, that's one receiver for the Texans. We know that one receiver doesn't get the job done. You need a couple of guys to throw to. You need a solid line. You need a lot of other pieces. So this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy for C.J. Stroud to come in and just fucking take the NFL by the horns.
they're about to announce the NFL MVP coming up within the next 5 minutes, and you got to think it was Lamar Jackson because it's a regular season award. Take everything out of what happened in the AFC Championship. Lamar had a hell of a year. You got to think it's going to Lamar, right?
One of his best years yet.
Yeah. So by the time we're done with this pod, if they do announce it, we'll say it at the end, who won MVP. But let's get into this Super Bowl preview.
So we've got the 49ers in the NFC taking on the AFC's Kansas City Chiefs.
Ugh.
Don't love that the Chiefs are back in it, especially after the kind of yikes season that they had. They looked like they were in turmoil, kind of on and off throughout the season. They weren't playing great in certain games. They were kind of wishy-washy there at the beginning, but somehow Patrick Mahomes just finds a way to get it done. And they've landed their spot back here in the Super Bowl against the 49ers, who the 49ers have looked fairly solid all season. They've had some challenges. They've overcome some difficulties. They did lose to the Ravens fairly badly. So I'm honestly a little glad they're not playing the Ravens again. But I also don't love seeing the Chiefs here. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I hate that the Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl again. I mentioned it last week. It is the New England Patriot effect. And you're going to see that every time that Patrick Mahomes makes the Super Bowl. The crazy part, if he wins this game in the Super Bowl, he is not just on Tom Brady's level. He's above Tom Brady's level. Like, he's getting close to that 7 rings. He only has 3 more to go, and he's only been in the league for 7 years.
That's crazy.
7 years, and he only has 3 more to catch Tom. And if he wins this one, he catches Joe Montana with 4 Super Bowl wins already. And Joe Montana is known as the second best quarterback ever. So in 7 years, Patrick officially passes the second best quarterback in NFL history. Is nuts to me. There is something to say that Patrick Mahomes has led that Kansas City Chiefs team. He has done a damn good job at leading that Kansas City Chiefs team. Of course, he still has Travis Kelce, but Travis is aging, man, like rapidly. He's kind of turned it on during the playoffs, but that second half of the year, he looked rough. He was dropping balls.
He wasn't playing quite the same way he would, which is why I've started to make the argument with a couple people, actually, that at least if you're looking in this season's regards, the number 1 tight end is George Kittle. Like, George Kittle is there's always been that kind of 1 and 2 talk with him and Kelce back and forth a little bit. But if you just focus in on this season with the down year Kelce's kind of been having and stuff, like, George Kittle just does it all. And the problem is he does so much in the blocking game and even just like in a pass pro set that he's your true, like, does it in all planes tight end. Like, Travis Kelce, yeah, he's a receiver. He's a very big receiver. Not a great blocker. He's not going to, like, kick your ass, get a pancake, whatever. Like, that's not what he does. George Kittle, he does it all.
Yeah. And, I think you can start making that argument. I think George Kittle has to win this Super Bowl and have a really good game to actually start putting his name 1 and 1, like 1A, 1B. Because right now it is the true definition of 1 and 2. But if George Kittle goes out and wins the Super Bowl, like, it could be 1A, 1B. And, like, there's a good shot that George Kittle does go out and win the Super Bowl. And he could have a great game. But, like you said, Kelce has kind of fallen off this year. And, unfortunately, man, the Chiefs still made it back. And it goes back to Andy Reid. Andy Reid also announced that he is coming back next year, regardless of a Super Bowl win or a Super Bowl loss. So Andy Reid's coming back, and I don't blame the guy for coming back because he's not that far off from Bill Belichick now, if you really look at it. By the time Andy Reid retires, he could be the best coach in NFL history.
It's one of those things, like we've talked about with Kirk Ferentz a little bit, how it's like you got a record chase a little bit. Like, when you get to a certain point, you've got to solidify your stance in a certain position. And you can always make the argument of, end it while you're hot, like leave with the hot hand so that way there's no, like, tailing off. Because you don't know if he comes back for another season necessarily, if he can like replicate the same thing. Like there's potential for drop off, and you always want to try to leave before you hit that drop off. But at the same time, like when you've been doing it for this long, this successfully, you got to think that risk is kind of a worthwhile risk to take.
For sure. Yeah. And I think, I really think that he knows that too. I think the Chiefs have I hate to say it, but I think the Chiefs have a really good shot at winning the Super Bowl. Like, I think the Chiefs can pull it off. Like, the way they played against Baltimore flipped my whole, opinion on the Kansas City Chiefs. I still don't like them at all. But they're not winning how they won Super Bowls in the past. They're not winning strictly on the offense. They have a top 5 defense. Chris Jones is playing out of his mind. Their secondary, Trent McDuffie, is probably one of the best cornerbacks in the league right now. I think the Chiefs are really, really solid all around. Maybe not on the receiving core, but every other aspect, they've been solid all year. Their offensive line is good, and it's just going to be a really tough matchup.
Yeah, I think a part of that is to do with their defensive coordinator. I think like how they played the Ravens very, very successfully and whatnot. I think they, from a coaching perspective with Andy Reid and the D coordinator and all that stuff, I think they prepare for other teams very, very well.
Yeah.
Because that's another thing with Patrick Mahomes, and part of the reason that he's so good is he actually spends tons of time like studying and learning, and like he's smart. Like as far as football intelligence goes, he works his absolute ass off, like prepping for games, learning the plays, learning the best things to do with the ball, etc. Like all that stuff. Like he's a football nerd when it comes to that. So that's part of the reason he has so much wild success. No matter what team you throw at him, it's preparation. It's knowing how to prepare and getting prepared correctly that I think that they excel at so much, which is a part of the reason they're so good, which does make me very, very nervous because I do very much want to see a 49ers win out of this. But you can't count the Chiefs out in that regard.
Yeah, and you haven't been able to count them out. They are talking about Dick Butkus passing away. So I was just looking at that. R.I.P., one of the best Bears to ever play. But, yeah, you can't count the Kansas City Chiefs out. But let's talk about the 49ers. The 49ers have been something special this year. They did have a 3-game skid where, they started looking like, what is going on with San Francisco? But they got back on track. And I like that they finally got back on track because at the end of the day, I think it's a beautiful story. We're Brock Purdy guys. We've been Brock Purdy guys since he came into the league because he's Iowa State. I think we even talked about him on one of our inaugural podcasts about him getting drafted by the 49ers. And that was before any of this crazy stuff even happened with Brock Purdy. But as your shirt says, he's pretty damn relevant because Mr. Irrelevant himself is in the Super Bowl. This has never happened. Mr. Irrelevant's never went to the Super Bowl. Yeah, you've got guys that have won a Super Bowl, like Kurt Warner, that was undrafted. But Mr. Irrelevant, the last pick of the NFL draft, nobody wanted him, passed on him 7 rounds, is in the Super Bowl, and he's playing damn good football. Yeah, the first half of the AFC Championship game NFC was a little rocky, but he turned it around in the second half. And to be honest, I could see him holding up that Lombardi trophy.
Definitely.
I can actually visualize it.
That's a big thing too, though, is like some of the things that the greats do that gets overlooked a little bit is they struggle. Like you said, he struggled in the first half. Great. Did he lose the game though?
No.
Did he stay down, let the team be defeated? Did he get sulky? Whatever. No. He came back. They made adjustments. He came back. He was calm and he executed. That's how the greats win games. Even in situations where you get down, you're not playing great, you might start getting a little jittery or anxious and whatnot. You got to steady those nerves, go out there and do what you know you can do and do it in a high caliber, successful way. And so that's what he was able to do. And so that's another reason that, yeah, I don't know if this is going to be a great game or like, like I don't know if they're going to come out firing on all cylinders per se, but I feel decently good about at the end of the day them just keep chipping away and getting the job done.
For sure. Have you seen the comparison to Mike Shanahan and the 1998 Denver Broncos? I saw it today.
Mike Shanahan and somebody else were in that Super Bowl, and now their sons, Kyle Shanahan, and I can't remember. Is it McCaffrey? It's McCaffrey.
Yep. All right. So Mike Shanahan, Kyle Shanahan's dad, was the head coach of the Denver Broncos in 1998. They won the Super Bowl.
With Ed McCaffrey on the team.
But it goes a little bit farther, too. Their assistant head coach and their running backs coach, Anthony Lynn, was the backup running back for the Denver Broncos in 1998. Oh. It goes a little deeper than that, too. Their wide receiver coach was a wide receiver on the Denver Broncos in 1998. So there's just a couple of, weird stipulations and scenarios with it that is kind of cool to see. And the Broncos won in 1998. So maybe there is a shot that the San Francisco 49ers can pull this off.
That bodes well for the 49ers getting this job done. Fun fact, Ed McCaffrey was actually the head coach at Northern Colorado while I was there.
Is he still the head coach there now?
No, he's not.
But yeah, I think it's just a really cool thing, man. And I'm hoping that the 49ers can pull this off. Brock Purdy has to play probably his best game to pull this off. And the thing is, I'm tired of people saying Brock Purdy's not good. It goes back to that 2012 conversation with Joe Flacco. Is Joe Flacco elite or not? There was no in between. There was no, he's a good quarterback. It was, no, he's either bad or he's great. Yeah. That is the same thing that has been going on with Brock Purdy all year long. Is he great or is he not good? And there's no.
The sad thing is, even if he wins this Super Bowl, there's still going to be that argument because there's still going to be as I mentioned earlier, as you've mentioned in previous episodes, there's still going to be that asterisk or whatever you want to call it of, well, yeah, when you have the best team in the NFL, it'd be easy to win it. Okay, sure. But
do you think it softens a little bit if it's a win against Patrick Mahomes, though, against one of the greatest quarterbacks in the league and probably one of the greatest
Brock
quarterbacks?
Purdy is not playing I've said this before. Brock Purdy is not playing Patrick Mahomes. They will never once be on the field at the same time. They are not playing each other. Patrick Mahomes is playing the 49ers defense, and Brock Purdy is playing the Chiefs defense.
That's fair. But then you're also comparing, though, Andy Reid. We're talking about Andy Reid in the conversation of the greatest coach of all time. Does it soften the blow a little bit with him beating Andy Reid's team in the Super Bowl?
Maybe. I don't know. Honestly, to me, it doesn't change anything aside of winning the Super Bowl. Okay. If they win the Super Bowl, sure, it doesn't matter who is on the other side of it because they won it. That, it doesn't make any difference in that regard if it's a win. Sure. Andy Reid carries more weight in that argument and stuff, but Andy Reid also is more of an offensively minded head coach. He's more of the running the offense type of guy. So even slightly in that regard, I would say I don't know if it softens the blow a ton because once again, Brock Purdy is not playing the Chiefs offense. He's playing the defense.
That's fair. So what is your prediction of this Super Bowl?
Oh, shit. Let's go. I'm gonna pull some wild numbers out here. I kind of want a high-scoring game. I want to see some points on the fucking board. I'm going to go – let me get a 38. I'm going to go 38 to 33.
Ooh, who do you got winning?
Niners. All the way.
I have Joe Flacco won Comeback Player of the Year, by the way. That is nice. That is awesome. We can talk about that in a second. But I got 23-13 49ers. Defensive battle. I think, one, the Ravens held Patrick Mahomes to 17 points last week. Chiefs still haven't looked great offensively. I do think that the 49ers are going to do just enough to actually pull this off. Also, one thing, too, is it's very, very weird, and the irony is weird that in 2020, both these teams have played in the Super Bowl, and the Chiefs won, and then 2 months later, the world shut down because of COVID, and the election process at that time was Donald Trump and Joe Biden, and now we are in 2024, and the election process is Donald Trump and Joe Biden, and the Chiefs and the 49ers are facing each other in the Super Bowl 4 years later. So what's going to come happen in 2 months? Who knows?
Yeah, I'm a little nervous about it. But, I mean, we will find out in a week. I mean, we won't find out what's going to happen in a couple months postponed, but, like, at least we'll find out one factor, because arguably if the 49ers win instead of the Chiefs, like, that's different enough that we're on a different trajectory, right? Like, that'll switch things up a little bit for us. That'll be good, but no, super excited to watch the Super Bowl. What do you, last thing here, before we go today, where are you watching the Super Bowl at?
I think I'm just watching it at my house. I got Liz's family coming over for the Super Bowl. Gonna make some wings, gonna make some ribs, and gonna relax because Super Bowl Sunday is gonna be my first day off in 21 days.
Nice.
So I'm excited. Where are you watching?
Thank you. I'm going to be watching the Super Bowl at my offensive coordinator's place. The offensive coordinator always kind of hosts a Super Bowl party and stuff for the coaches, and so me and Mallory are going to go down there and watch it at his place. I think he's also going to have like some wings, some pizza, some random stuff going on like that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And as far as your 22 days straight goes, you want to be a coach, right?
Maybe.
Because I've pulled about 50 there, so fall's a bitch.
Don't you get Saturdays off sometimes? Oh, no, you get your bye week off.
Okay, I get one bye week.
There you go.
I get a day.
There you go. There you go.
That still is like puts me at least 40 straight.
That's fair. That sucks. Yeah, a lot. But yeah, guys, Joe Flacco won Comeback Player of the Year. That's cool. I mean, he had a very cool little stretch there at the end of the year. That he led him to the playoffs. The Browns are racking up the awards tonight. The Browns and the Texans. Kevin Stefanski, Myles Garrett, Joe Flacco. It's kind of cool to see.
Browns are pulling good. One last update too. The Iowa women's team is up 74-55 on Penn. Sorry, they just scored 74-58 on Penn State. 2 minutes left in the third quarter. I think they got it wrapped up pretty well. Caitlin Clark's at 23 at the moment, so probably not breaking the record tonight. So we'll be tuning in for that next game. But Avery, go ahead and take it away.
That means Caitlin Clark's 43 points away, guys. 43. But, all right, guys, all I got to say is go Niners. Go Niners. What is it? Bang, bang, Niner gang. And bear down.